For centuries, the Vatican has been a fortress of faith, hiding secrets that few dare to imagine. Behind its grand walls lie whispers of forbidden dealings, concealed truths, and dark history. Secrets carefully guarded and buried over generations. Recently, strange signs and cryptic clues have emerged, hinting that not all secrets have been kept in silence. Now, a mysterious figure, Pope Leo XIV, has broken his long silence. What truth is he willing to reveal? And at what cost? As shadows from the past threaten to resurface, the question remains: what dark secret has lingered beneath the Vatican for all this time, waiting to be uncovered? In the dimly lit corners of the Vatican's vast archival library, dust particles dance lazily in the streaks of sunlight filtering through tiny stained glass windows. Amid rows of ancient manuscripts and weathered scrolls, Maria, a young historian with a relentless curiosity, carefully examined a collection of neglected documents. Her fingertips traced faded ink as she gently turned each fragile page, seeking clues that had been long forgotten by most. The air was thick with the scent of aged parchment and secrets long buried beneath centuries of silence. It was during this diligent search that Maria stumbled upon an odd-looking leather-bound volume tucked away behind a false panel in one of the shelves. The book's cover was plain, yet it bore a faint engraving of a strange symbol, something she had never seen before, an intertwined cross and serpent. Intrigued, she gently unlatched the clasp, revealing yellowed pages filled with hurried handwriting and cryptic sketches. Among these, one particular letter caught her eye. A hastily scribbled message that seemed out of place amid the orderly records. The letter was addressed to an unknown recipient, dating back several centuries, and written in a hurried, almost desperate tone. It referenced the dark secret, a hidden truth buried beneath the Vatican, and warned of dire consequences should it ever be uncovered. The writer alluded to clandestine meetings, forbidden knowledge, and a pact made with powers beyond mortal comprehension. The tone was urgent, almost pleading, as if revealing too much could jeopardize the author's life, or worse. Maria's pulse quickened as she deciphered fragments of the text. The mention of a clandestine chamber hidden beneath the ancient catacombs sent a shiver down her spine. She realized that this wasn't just a random document. It was an encrypted map pointing towards something monumental, something that could shake the very foundation of the Church's history. Driven by a mixture of awe and trepidation, she meticulously recorded her findings, knowing that she had uncovered something extraordinary. Yet, she was painfully aware of the risks. The Vatican's archives were heavily guarded, and uncovering this secret could attract the suspicion of powerful figures, monks, cardinals, perhaps even the Pope himself. She debated whether to report her discovery or keep it hidden, fearing that the truth might be too dangerous to reveal. As she delved deeper, Maria noticed a pattern in the symbols and references, an intricate code that hinted at a location beneath the Vatican's surface, possibly a hidden chamber. Her instincts told her that this secret was not just a relic of the past, but a key to understanding a long-forgotten chapter of the Church's history, one that was deliberately erased. Night fell, and Maria sat alone amid the flickering candlelight, eyes fixed on the mysterious pages before her. With each passing moment, the weight of her discovery grew heavier, and the urgency to uncover the truth intensified. She wondered, what had the Church been hiding all these years? And if her findings were correct, What would happen if she dared to expose the dark secret she had just uncovered? The questions lingered in her mind as she closed the ancient book carefully, knowing that her journey was only just beginning. Somewhere within the shadows of the Vatican, a secret lay dormant, waiting for the right person to find it, and perhaps for the right moment to reveal itself. Decades had passed since Maria's initial discovery, but the whispers of the secret still echoed in the hidden depths of her mind. Meanwhile, within the sacred walls of the Vatican, a different silence had taken hold. A silence maintained by centuries of tradition and an unspoken agreement to keep certain truths sealed away. The world around the Holy See had changed, but the quiet weight of age-old secrets remained as oppressive as ever. Pope Leo XIV, known for his piety and contemplative demeanour, had ascended to the throne of St. Peter in a time of relative calm. He was regarded as a humble man with a deep spiritual presence, often seen walking through the marble halls dressed in simple robes, meditating in quiet prayer, or speaking softly with his closest advisors. But beneath that calm exterior was a man burdened by visions, doubts, and a relentless inner conflict. Leo's health had begun to decline, subtly but unmistakably. His days grew more frail, and his nights were plagued with restless dreams. Visions haunted him, visions of shadows creeping across sacred altars, whispering voices from ages past, and glimpses of an ancient relic, dark and ominous, buried deep beneath the Vatican. These dreams had started months ago, and their recurring nature unsettled him profoundly. Was it a sign or a manifestation of his fears? In moments of solitude, Leo would sit in his private study staring at an ancient, ornate crucifix, struggling to decipher their meaning. The burden of leadership, combined with the strange visions, began to weigh heavily on his conscience. Rumours of a long-buried secret had always existed among the church hierarchy, but he had chosen to remain silent until now. Whispers inside the Vatican's inner circles suggested that someone had recently come into possession of sensitive information. People spoke in hushed tones about an outsider, a scholar, a visitor with a reputation for uncovering forbidden truths, who had recently gained access to the archives and uncovered a troubling piece of evidence. The presence of this outsider was met with suspicion. Revelations of past cover-ups and clandestine dealings threatened to ignite chaos of unprecedented scale within the church's corridors. Within this environment of secrecy and anxiety, Pope Leo XIV had begun to feel the weight of history pressing heavily on his shoulders. He was warned by his closest advisors that speaking out or even hinting at the secret's existence could be dangerous. Yet his conscience nagged at him. Was he truly the keeper of truth, or merely a pawn in a far-reaching conspiracy? Sleep became scarce, haunted by dreams of the past, and a growing sense that he was nearing a threshold, one that would determine whether the church would remain hidden behind walls of deception or confront its darkest history. Meanwhile, Maria's investigation had continued in the shadows, and her discovery of the cryptic letter had provided her with a new sense of purpose. She had come to believe that the secret was more than a myth, more than a legend whispered in fear. She felt certain it involved something powerful, something capable of rewriting history. Every new fragment of evidence she uncovered seemed to point to a profound truth that had been deliberately erased, hidden away beneath the Vatican's ancient foundations. Yet the more she learned, the more dangerous her pursuit became. Rumours travelled quietly among those who knew her. rumours of watching eyes and unseen forces that sought to silence her before she could reveal what she knew. She sensed that she was not alone in her quest, and that powerful interests within the church preferred to keep the secret buried forever. Her every step was shadowed by unseen eyes. She often felt the weight of unseen gazes following her, listening for her footsteps as she moved through private corridors and secluded chambers. Was she merely paranoid, or was this paranoia rooted in reality? She couldn't tell anymore. The line between truth and deception blurred. Sometimes she wondered if the very walls of the Vatican held their breath, waiting to see if she would succeed or be silenced forever. One evening, in a quiet cafe nestled near the Vatican grounds, Maria confided in a trusted friend, an elderly theologian who had long been sceptical of the Church's need for secrecy. He listened intently as she laid out her findings, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and determination. The old man's eyes flickered with a mixture of concern and understanding as he warned her that delving too deep could provoke the anger of those in power. Some truths, he said softly, are kept hidden for a reason. Better to leave certain shadows undisturbed, lest they swallow us whole. Yet Maria felt an undeniable pull, an urgent call to uncover what lay beneath the surface, regardless of the danger. She believed that the truth was worth the risk, because she sensed that it could change everything: faith, history, even the very nature of the Church itself. But as her investigation grew more daring, so did the risks she faced. As the days turned into weeks, Maria's relentless pursuit of the truth increasingly drew attention and danger. Her clandestine searches in the Vatican archives, once undertaken with cautious discretion, became more daring as she uncovered more disturbing clues. With each new discovery, her sense of urgency deepened, but so did the sense of threat around her. Meanwhile, within the hallowed precincts of Vatican power, a shadowy web of influence tightened around those who wished to keep the secret buried. Rumours circulated discreetly among trusted courtiers and high-ranking officials about a figure close to the Pope, a man whose loyalty seemed unwavering, yet whose motives remained inscrutable. His name was Cardinal Monsignor Giuseppe Alarico, a seasoned diplomat and a notorious keeper of secrets. To many within the Church, he was seen as a loyal servant, faithful and discreet, but others whispered that he was a man of hidden agendas, always questioning, always watching. From the moment Leo XIV had ascended to the papacy, Alarico had been a constant presence, whispering in the shadows and advising the Pope on matters both sacred and political. His influence was subtle but pervasive, his opinions often swaying the pontiff's decisions on sensitive issues. Many suspected that Alarico knew more than he let on. His allegiance, some believed, was to the institution. Others whispered he might have his own private motivations, perhaps even a vested interest in ensuring the secret remained buried. Leo's health, already fragile, grew worse with each passing day. His visions haunted him with a relentless persistence, visions of the dark relic beneath the Vatican, of ancient rituals, and of a pact sealed in blood. Sleep became a fleeting luxury, replaced by restless tossing in his elaborately carved bed and moments of waking sweat-drenched and trembling. His advisors grew concerned, sensing the increasing toll on his mental and physical well-being. They urged him to rest, to delegate, to focus on spiritual matters. But Leo knew deep in his heart that he was approaching a crossroads. one where silence might no longer be possible. The internal conflicts within the Vatican intensified. Some cardinals, pragmatic and fearful of upheaval, pressed him to maintain the status quo, to avoid stirring the waters of concealed truths that could destabilise the Church's foundation. Others, more daring or desperate for reform, hinted that the Church's moral authority might itself be at stake if the dark truths remained hidden. These debates played out in hushed council chambers and cloistered corridors, where every decision could have profound repercussions. Amid this tense atmosphere, Maria's investigations took a startling turn. Using her contacts and the cryptic clues she had gathered, she became convinced that the secret involved an ancient relic, something buried deep within the catacombs beneath St. Peter's Basilica. She had uncovered reports of unexplained disturbances in parts of the underground labyrinth, tunnels that were long sealed but mysteriously accessible in certain areas. Her instinct told her that the relic was not only a symbol, but also possessed a power that could threaten the Church's centuries-old narrative if it ever saw the light. But her every move was shadowed by unseen eyes. She caught glimpses of silent figures lurking just beyond her line of sight, always watching, always listening. She suspected that her phone calls were intercepted, her emails monitored, and her movements tracked by agents loyal to those intent on keeping the Church's darkest secret hidden. The more she delved, the more obvious it became that powerful interests within the Vatican considered her a threat, perhaps because they knew she was close to uncovering something vital. Late at night, Maria often found herself gazing out over the Vatican's sprawling silhouette, her mind racing with suspicions. Who could she trust? Was she being paranoid, or was danger truly stalking her footsteps? She had faced subtle warnings, strange emails, unexplained messages, mysterious figures seen in the shadows, but she refused to back down. Meanwhile, back in his private chambers, Leo XIV grappled with his internal struggle. The visions persisted, growing more vivid and visceral. He saw dark, cavernous tunnels beneath the Vatican, and within them, an object that radiated a malevolent glow. These nightmares felt like whispers from a long-forgotten past, urging him to remember, to confront. Yet he also sensed that some truths were better left undisturbed, and he questioned whether the burden of knowledge was one he could bear. His closest advisors, especially Cardinal Alarico, tried to dissuade him from pursuing what they deemed dangerous paths. They warned of the chaos that could ensue if certain secrets were revealed, of entire doctrines upended, of the Church's authority challenged by revelations too terrible to withstand. The tension between safeguarding faith and unveiling uncomfortable truths became a silent but palpable presence in the Pope's decision-making. In moments of quiet reflection, Leo would stare at the ancient relics that many believed held protective powers, but could also conceal forbidden knowledge. The moment was approaching, an event long anticipated within clandestine circles and whispered about in the shadows of Vatican corridors. Pope Leo XIV, frail yet resolute, convened a secret meeting with a select group of trusted advisors, men and women whose loyalty had been tested over decades. The room was dimly lit by flickering candles, their glow casting elongated shadows on the ancient stone walls. The air was heavy with anticipation, a mixture of reverence and trepidation. Leo's voice, delicate but steady, cut through the murmurs as he addressed this inner circle. His words were carefully chosen, laden with hints and cautious truths. He had sensed the time was near, that the knowledge he possessed could no longer be contained within the confines of whispered secrecy. He deliberately alluded to the great revelation, speaking of a moment when the Church's history would be exposed to the light of day, whether by his own hands or through other forces beyond his control. Among his trusted advisers, Cardinal Alarico listened intently, noting the subtle changes in Leo's tone. There was an unusual fire in his eyes, a sign that perhaps the Pope's inner conflict was reaching its crescendo. Others in the room shared silent glances, weighing the gravity of what was being hinted at, a secret so profound that its revelation might shake the entire foundation of their faith. In the days leading up to this clandestine assembly, Maria had uncovered new fragments, cryptic references in ancient texts and symbols carved into hidden chambers beneath the Vatican. They pointed toward an artifact, a relic with the power to alter perceptions of history and faith itself. This relic, according to her findings, was more than just an artifact. It was an image of forbidden knowledge, encoded with truths that could topple centuries of dogma if ever brought to light. The discussions within that darkened chamber grew more intense, veering towards the question of whether the truth was worth revealing, despite the chaos it might unleash. Some warned that unveiling secret could lead to widespread doubt, protest, and a crisis of faith. Others argued that the Church's strength came from truth and transparency, that holding on to guarded secrets risked corruption and decay. Leo, weakened but unwavering, suddenly leaned forward, voice trembling slightly, yet filled with conviction. He revealed that he had come into possession of a diary, an ancient record penned by a figure long thought to be apocryphal. The diary, he claimed, described the existence of a hidden chamber deep beneath the Vatican, or one that housed the relic and perhaps the answers to questions no mortal should dare to ask. The truth had, until now, been kept from the world, masked behind layers of myth, fear, and centuries of silence. He hesitated for a moment, as if weighing the next words carefully, then continued. The revelation I am about to share may shatter the very foundations of our faith. Yet I believe it is time for the truth to be known. There are powers beyond our understanding, ancient forces that have influenced our history. The relic within the hidden chamber must be examined, because it holds the key to understanding not just our past, but perhaps our future. The room fell silent, each person digesting the gravity of the statement. Some looked visibly shaken, others steeled themselves for what was to come. Tense silence lingered until Cardinal Alarico finally broke the quiet, voice low but firm. We must proceed with utmost caution. If what you say is true, exposing this truth will change everything. Are we prepared for the consequences? Leo's eyes flickered with a mixture of resolve and unease. We cannot hide from the truth forever. We have protected this secret for centuries, but now it beckons to us, an undeniable call. The time is near. We stand at a crossroads. Either we embrace the unknown, or we succumb to it. But I believe that truth, however dangerous, is our ultimate salvation. And so, within that darkened chamber, decisions were made in hushed voices. Secret plans to investigate the relic, to perhaps unlock its mysteries, and to prepare for the inevitable upheaval that would come with their revelations. Meanwhile, Maria, miles away, had been following her own trail, and her recent discoveries had only affirmed her suspicion that the secret was more than a myth. The cryptic diary Leo spoke of, she learned, might be a link to her own findings, a bridge between her research and the Vatican's concealed past. The pieces seemed to align in an ominous pattern, suggesting that she was close to unearthing something extremely powerful. Unbeknownst to her, a silent observer watched her from the shadows, an elder monk who had served the church for decades. His name was Brother Matteo, a man with a reputation for wisdom and discretion. But in recent days, there had been an odd gleam in his eyes, and his silence had taken on an almost sinister quality. Maria's relentless pursuit of the secret had driven her through a labyrinth of underground tunnels, ancient stones, and hidden chambers beneath the Vatican. She had spent countless nights poring over maps, old blueprints, and cryptic clues, each one pulling her deeper into a world few had dared to explore. Her heart pounded with a mixture of fear and determination as she navigated the shadowy passages, the faint echoes of her footsteps bouncing off damp, moss-covered walls. Armed with her notes, a flashlight, and a small set of tools, she had discovered a concealed entrance behind an old stone wall carefully camouflaged with rubble and centuries of dust. The entrance was unmarked, almost deliberately hidden, an access point only the most clandestine parts of the archives or the original builders would have known about. She had uncovered it through her in-depth research, interpreting faint symbols on the walls that matched her cryptic clues from the documents she had previously found. Now, she was just moments away from uncovering what could very well be the most dangerous discovery of her life. As she stepped into the narrow corridor, her senses sharpened. Cold, damp air saturated her lungs, and an unsettling silence enveloped her, broken only by the distant drip of water echoing through the tunnels. Every step she took reverberated against the stone, and her mind raced with questions. What exactly would she find here? Was it the relic itself? Or perhaps a chamber filled with ancient artifacts linked to the secret she hunted? Whatever lay ahead, she knew that this was what she had been searching for, a gateway to truth that had been buried for centuries. The tunnel twisted and descended beneath the foundations of the basilica, and Maria's candle flickered ominously as her pulse quickened. Her fingers brushed against cool, rough walls as she carefully manoeuvred her way deeper into the dark, listening intently for any unfamiliar sounds. Each new passageway seemed to whisper stories of centuries past, a long-lost history woven into the very fabric of the underground world she now infiltrated. After what felt like an eternity of crawling through cramped, low-ceilinged passages, she reached a heavy stone door covered in ancient symbols, matching those in her discovered manuscripts. The symbols glowed faintly in the dim light, pulsating with an almost living energy. As she brushed her fingers over the carvings, a surge of adrenaline shot through her, and she realized this was the threshold, an entrance to the unknown. With trembling hands, she pushed the heavy door open, revealing an enormous chamber beyond. The air was thick with a scent of age and mystery. Inside, the room was lined with shelves of relics, old scrolls and artifacts, all covered in layers of dust and cobwebs. But her eyes were drawn to the centerpiece, a pedestal in the center of the chamber, upon which rested a dark, ornate object, perhaps the relic itself. It was a curious object, unlike anything she had ever seen. a smooth, obsidian-like surface inscribed with strange symbols, radiating a strange energy that seemed to vibrate in the quiet of the chamber. As she approached cautiously, she became aware of a strange, palpable hum, a vibration that resonated within her bones. The relic felt alive, as if it was waiting, watching her, listening for her touch. She hesitated, knowing that whatever power this object contained could be dangerous, even destructive, if misused or disturbed. Suddenly, her flashlight flickered and died, plunging the chamber into darkness. For a moment, panic threatened to overtake her, but then she remembered her backup light. As it flickered on, illuminating the relic in a ghostly glow, she saw inscriptions carved around its base, warnings written in a long-lost language. The warnings spoke of divine power and forbidden knowledge, of a force that could grant immense insight, yet at a terrible cost. Maria's hands trembled as she reached out to examine the relic more closely. Her mind raced with possibilities. Was this the key to understanding the Church's deepest secret? Was this the relic that Leo XIV and others had spoken of in hushed whispers? Her breath caught in her throat as she realized that the truth she had sought so desperately might be more dangerous than she ever imagined. She knew she had to act quickly. Her instincts told her that others, powerful interests within the Vatican, would not allow her to take this relic lightly. Someone had already been here before her. She found faint footprints in the dust nearby, suggesting others had recently entered or studied this chamber. Suddenly, a faint scrape echoed behind her. Her heart froze. She spun around and saw a figure, a shadowy silhouette, standing just out of the reach of her flashlight's beam. Her hand instinctively reached for her pocket to grab a phone or any other tool. But before she could move, the figure stepped forward. The air in the grand hall was thick with anticipation as the tension finally reached its breaking point. The world watched with bated breath as Pope Leo XIV, frail yet resolute, prepared to address the congregation, an assembly of cardinals, bishops, and select advisors, gathered in a rare, secret gathering within the papal chambers. The moment had been years in the making, a culmination of whispers, clandestine meetings, and endless nights of internal struggle. Now, it was time. The moment when the silent darkness of the Vatican's deepest secrets would be shattered and the truth laid bare for all to see. Leo sat hunched on his ornate throne, his hands trembling slightly as he gazed upon the gathered faces. His voice, already weakened by years of illness, carried a weight that made every word resonate with profound significance. He began slowly to measure his words, aware that the revelations he was about to disclose would ripple through history and challenge centuries of dogma, potentially unmaking the very foundation of their faith. With deliberate pauses, he recounted the history of the secret, the ancient pact, the hidden chamber beneath St. Peter's, and the relic that had been concealed for generations. Every word was spoken with a sense of finality, announcing that the time had come to confront the darkness they had been suppressing. His voice wavered, yet his conviction was unwavering. With a trembling hand, he reached beneath his robes and produced an aged, weathered book, a diary written by a long-deceased figure whose record confirmed the existence of the relic and hinted at its unimaginable power. The room grew eerily silent. Every eye widened as Leo recounted the warnings and revelations found within the diary. He described the relic, a dark, pulsating object of otherworldly energy that had been hidden away to prevent catastrophe. This relic, Leo stated, is both a symbol of our faith and a potential harbinger of destruction if wielded without wisdom. Our ancestors made a terrible decision, concealing its existence, and in doing so, perhaps, delaying divine judgment. He paused, then took a deep, shuddering breath. But the time has come for the truth. We must decide whether to continue shielding the world from its horrors or to confront our past head-on, with honesty and courage. His words seemed to echo off the walls, settling into the hushed chamber like a solemn omen. At that moment, a figure stepped forward, an aged monk with a steady, unwavering gaze. His voice was calm yet commanding as he addressed the assembly. The relic must be studied. Its power is real, and it is dangerous to ignore such warnings. But I fear that if we reveal too much, if we expose what has been hidden for centuries, we risk unleashing chaos beyond our control. We need a careful and strategic approach. The debate that followed was fierce and divided. Some warned of the destructive potential and the consequences of revealing the truth to a world unprepared for the power it contained. Others argued passionately that the Church's true strength lay in transparency and honesty, asserting that secrecy only bred corruption. The conflicting voices filled the chamber, each weighing the risks and benefits of unveiling the secret. Meanwhile, outside this clandestine gathering, Maria's relentless digging had taken her even closer to the truth. She had pieced together pieces of a puzzle that suggested the relic was not merely an artifact, but an anchor to an ancient power. Power that could reshape faith or destroy it. Her heart raced as she realized she was not only close to uncovering the truth, but also becoming a target. Suddenly, the memory of the cryptic diary Leo had shared flashed in her mind. She believed that this diary might hold the final piece, an instruction manual to unlock the relic's full potential. If she could find a way to access it, perhaps she could understand what the Church was truly hiding, and what the consequences might be if it was ever unleashed. Unbeknownst to her, in the shadows, Brother Matteo, who had been observing her from afar, was now moving silently toward a secret chamber. He was an older monk, yet sharp-eyed and cautious, with a reputation for unwavering loyalty and discretion. His mind raced with conflicting thoughts. Was Maria too close to the truth? Would revealing the relic threaten everything? To him, her curiosity was both a virtue and a dangerous flaw. Back in the Vatican's hidden chambers, the debate was escalating. Cardinal Alarico, who had once been Leo's confidant, now appeared cautious and reserved. His influence was undeniable, and he was quietly advocating for preservation of the status quo, arguing that the Church should continue safeguarding the relic and its secrets rather than risking exposure. He emphasized that some truths were better left buried, that divine knowledge was often dangerous in mortal hands. Leo listened to all voices, his mind clouded by exhaustion and the weight of centuries. Slowly, he made a decision, one that would define the rest of his life.